All right, guys. Yesterday I did a video about Robin Westman, the trans shooter in Minneapolis, and I normally wouldn't just jump into another video the very next day about the same subject. However, in this case, there was something that I was thinking about doing last night that I opted not to do because I didn't know if I really had a way to present it correctly, because for a lot of people it's kind of something that's considered so out there, or just doubtful or difficult to understand or whatever. And then I saw Alex Jones cover the same thing today, which there's really no way to sugarcoat it or no other way to say it. It's about demon possession. And Alex Jones on the Alex Jones show went into it today about how this transgender is almost certainly was almost certainly possessed by at least one demon. And just bear with me because it's backed up by, you know, as good as evidence gets in this, which is experiences. You know, it's obviously not something that can be broken down with statistics, but I also wanted to something that kind of sets the table, not the demonic side, but just sets the table for the kind of the side that people can understand a lot easier, is this Jesse Waters bit here. So I wanted to open with playing this. So let's jump into this here.
Suicidal transgender who hates Trump's Christians and Jews shoots up kids at a Catholic school, and the media wants to take away your handgun. So how are we supposed to protect ourselves from trans shooters? The media is bad at pattern recognition. We aren't. Just 2 years ago, another trans 20-something walked into a Christian school in Nashville with a rifle and shot 3 kids and 3 adults. They buried the manifesto and locked down the case. We've seen trans shootings in Colorado and in Maryland. They even shot up an ICE facility in Texas. And it seems like half of Antifa's trans. A couple of they-thems just got popped for firebombing Teslas. The mayor of Minneapolis says, you can't say that.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
I don't hate anyone who thinks they're trans. I feel sorry for them. But statistically, the trans population has been prone to violence. That's not villainizing, that's reality. And if you can't recognize reality, you're in danger. We love the American people, especially American children. And if they're troubled and believe they're somehow a girl trapped in a boy's body, we want to get them help. We don't want to give them hormones and operate on them. Society shouldn't be trying to produce more trans kids. We shouldn't be encouraging an emotional disorder or whatever this is. And doctors should stop profiting from it. Great Britain ended child sex change surgeries. They said it's barbaric, and they're right. And politicians should stop elevating the trans issue like it's the civil rights struggle of the 21st century. You see it all over Minneapolis.
Minneapolis will continue to be...
Okay, so that kind of sets it up. That's a pretty easy video to find if you want to see what else Jesse Waters said. So let's jump over to Alex Jones here. Alex Jones, when he covered it, I kind of went, yeah, maybe I should have done it last night. So let's jump into what he had to say here.
Every mass shooter that was not gang related, going back to Columbine, were devil worshipers who wore all black. And in the last 5 years or so, every mass school shooter has been a Satanist who's also trans. One was a female to male. All the rest are male to female. But we're told that the number one crime in America, and you see it quoted by Democrat politicians still, is white supremacy and whites killing blacks and Asians. If you actually look at the statistics, it's in the dozens a year that whites kill of Asians, and in the hundreds of blacks. And out of 350 million people, I mean, it is ultra rare. But it doesn't matter. You've heard CNN. There's an epidemic of white on Asian crime. The white people. So sometimes people ask me on X or wherever, like, hey, why are you showing all these crime statistics that it's 10 to 1, 15 to 1, depending on the area, black on white? You trying to be mean to black people? I'm like, no, I get to hear constantly that I am this vicious predator running around murdering everybody because I'm white. And it's
Okay, so Alex Jones began ranting there, but he kind of opened the door there about the demonic possession that I wanted to get into. So let's go over to the part that's a little bit more evidence-based here. Enter Jerry Marzinski. All right, so let's have a look here. Jerry Marzinski is a retired licensed psychotherapist with over 35 years of experience working with psychiatric patients, particularly those diagnosed with schizophrenia in settings such as state hospitals, state prisons, and hospital emergency rooms. He holds a BA and MED and has held positions such as second lieutenant in the Arizona Civil Air Patrol and assistant scoutmaster. His work has led him to propose a controversial theory that the voices heard by individuals with schizophrenia are not hallucinations or the result of a biochemical imbalance. Now, there's one thing I need to qualify this with. If you actually go, Jerry Marzinski does all these long podcasts that are, 1.5, 2, sometimes even like 3 hours long. And he makes it clear that schizophrenics have the worst case of this that you can possibly imagine of this demonic possession. However, he also makes it clear that people have these strange ideas and these voices that just sort of intrude on their thoughts, and this is also what he what we call in society what he calls the demons, and the schizophrenics just have an extreme form going on. So it's very important to know that you don't have to say, oh well, Jerry Marzinski talks about that, but that's only schizophrenics. No, it's not. Schizophrenics just have it the worst, and so do meth addicts. But we're not going to really get into the meth side of it today, because that has nothing to do with the Minneapolis shooting as far as we know, and all that. So schizophrenia are not hallucinations or the result of a biochemical imbalance, as mainstream psychiatry suggests, but are instead caused by demonic or parasitic entities influencing their thoughts. Below is a detailed overview of his claims, experiences, and methods based on available information. Okay, so I don't really have to get into an overview of his like all his claims and everything, because I've got him right here, and let's just watch this. In this part here, Jerry Marzinski is detailing an episode that happened, and he's just basically just saying what happened. And so since we know that he's talking about demonic possession, and he's a psychotherapist and schizophrenics, we can kind of skip to this story here. So let's jump into this story.
Around in the doorway, and he said, "You know what you're doing is dangerous, don't you?"
But I want to back that up a little bit.
Doorway, and he said, "My office." So I was. They started getting more and more intense. They didn't like what I was doing and interfering with them. So
okay, they interfering with them. That's the demons. So at this point, he's been dealing with this enough. He's talking about he's reaching back into his career, with what's sort of his old career now, and he's talking about how the demons were beginning to make it very clear that they did not like what he was doing because he was interfering with them. So let's continue.
One of the prisoners one day, as he was leaving my office, and he was slowly getting better, he turns around in the doorway and he said, "You know what you're doing is dangerous, don't you?" And then he just turned around and walked away. And I'm like, what was that all about? You know, I'm going, they're in their heads. They're not in my head. They can't get in me. I mean, it's like, you know, I didn't know what to make of it. I didn't ignore it, but I just kind of stuffed it in my backpack of things that I didn't understand, but to be aware of. Right? So I just kept doing the same stuff, and the voices were getting more and more agitated. And then that I think it might have been even that same guy. I don't know how he got into the medical unit that day, because usually they have to have a pass to get in there. This guy showed up in my office in the medical unit, knocked on my door. I opened it up, and he goes, "The voices want to talk to you." I said, "They want to talk to me personally?" He goes, "Yeah, they want to talk to you personally." That had never happened. In like 15, 20 years, that had never happened. It was always the voices would tell the patient something, and then the patient would tell me. Then I'd tell the patient, tell them this, and he would tell them that. You know, so it was always going through the patient. They never spoke to me directly, and that was like in 15 or 20 years that hadn't happened. So it's like that was weird. So I'm looking at him, and he goes, "Yeah, they want to talk to you personally," and I'm like, "Uh-oh, what's going on here?" You know, it's like outer limits time. Do 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 do. Yeah. Say, okay, come on in, have a seat. And I said, "What do they have to say?" And these words came out of his mouth. He said, "You have no right to interfere with our way of life."
Demons like to refer to themselves as they, them. I've noticed this quite often.
And them, plural. So it
Yeah.
wasn't the patient saying that. And it took me back, and the prisoner said that wasn't me saying that. That was them. I didn't say that, you know. And I said, "Well, tell them this." And he said, "I don't have to tell them anything. They can see you. They can hear you. You know, I don't have to. They can see and hear everything you say. You know." So there was kind of some banter, like I said something like, "Well, you're destroying these people," and then I don't remember where it went from there, because I was kind of in shock. That was like 15 or 20 years. It was at that moment where I realized that these things were entities. Before that, I was thinking, well, it's something to do with their subconscious or their.
Okay, so that story is the moment where Jerry Marzinski realizes, as he just said, that he's dealing with entities and he's not dealing with something that is just in someone's head. That's when he realized that schizophrenics don't just have random hallucinations in their head. I highly recommend going on and watching more Jerry Marzinski. All you have to do is type in his name, and it actually doesn't say it here, but there it is, Jerry Marzinski, and a whole bunch of podcasts, just endless podcasts come up. He's done one with like Owen Benjamin, which is also really interesting. But he goes on here and he talks about how there was a sound like a crack of lightning was almost kind of like a crack of lightning, or like something electric was going up his wall and over the ceiling and going around the room, and then came over toward him, while one of the people who he now knows was demonic possessed was just sitting there in kind of a trance in front of him. And it's just crazy stuff, absolutely crazy stuff. So I highly recommend getting into him. But the kind of the point is that when you go back here to, I think it's right at the beginning of this, where the way when you get through the beginning here of the way the Alex Jones show began, here it is. This guy is just sitting there, just making all these super, super creepy voices and stuff. And all of a sudden, when you hear about the link of demonic possession, it just makes so much sense that, wait a minute, maybe he's not just crazy, you know? So let's have a listen here. Right there. Just listen to that. just sounds like a demon is just sitting there warming up its vocal cords or something. I mean, it's wild stuff. But you watch someone like Jerry Marzinski, and it's like, boy, I mean, he's lived it. They even, it's really sad that they've got his son too, but like demon possession. They got his son. It's crazy, absolutely crazy stuff. I guess maybe you have to decide that you believe it or you don't. But it's wild stuff.
Swing. Here's my note to my family and shit.
Okay, so that's it. All I can really do is just kind of introduce it. The getting into all of it is something that takes hours or days or even weeks. So there you go. I just last night I tabled it, and then tonight I decided, all right, Alex Jones kind of broke the ice on the demonic possession, and I already knew about it, and I said, well, I'll do it too, and share what I know about it, which is mainly the Jerry Marzinski angle, which is really interesting stuff. So there you go. If you like this kind of stuff, please like, share, subscribe, etc., etc. Base Gardening out. Thanks, everybody. Bye.